It's 11:52 at night. I'm sitting on the kitchen floor, not because something is wrong, but because I didn't want to wake Charlie. I open our savings app. The balance reads $847. We'd been trying for 3 months. This was the closest we'd ever gotten to $1,000. And I just sat there, on the floor, in the dark, staring at it. I didn't know yet that that moment, that exact floor, that exact number, was level 1 of 8 completely different lives.
From the couple checking their balance every morning hoping it didn't go down, to the couple who never thinks about money again. Here is every level of saving as a couple, and what your life actually looks like at each one. 8 levels, 8 completely different financial realities. Find yours. Level 1. $1,000, the first real number.
I took a screenshot. I don't know why. We had $847 the night before and woke up to $1,013 after Charlie's paycheck cleared. I took a screenshot and sent it to Charlie with no caption. He sent back one word, finally. It sounds small, but that screenshot meant we had stopped spending everything we made. For the first time, we were building something. Even if one car repair would erase it.
Here's the data on Level 1. 37% of American couples have less than $1,000 in savings right now. Not $1,000 each, $1,000 total. If you're at this level, you are already ahead of more than a third of the country. The fatal flaw at Level 1 is treating it like a destination. Couples who stay here longest celebrate reaching it, then spend the next 6 months protecting it from themselves.
But $1,000 is just the door. What happens next is the first real test of who you are as a couple with money, and most couples fail it before they realize the test has started.
Level 2. $10,000, the comfort illusion. $10,000. This is the level where couples start making expensive mistakes. Not because they're careless, because $10,000 feels like safety. The brain registers it as abundance, even when it's actually just one medical bill away from $2,000.
When we hit $10,000, Charlie pulled up a spreadsheet the same night. He wanted to move $4,000 into a brokerage account immediately. Index funds, low cost, long term, all of it made sense on paper. I closed the laptop. I said, "We just got here. Can we just be here for a second?" We didn't fight about it. We avoided it. For 3 months, we just didn't talk about what to do with it. The money sat. Nothing happened. We lost 3 months of compound growth because I needed to feel safe and Charlie needed to feel productive. And neither of us said that out loud.
But here's the hidden trap at Level 2 that most couples walk straight into. A Federal Reserve study found that couples who reach $10,000 in savings increase their discretionary spending by an average of $340 per month within 6 months of hitting that number. Not because they decided to spend more, because they unconsciously felt like they could. We call this the comfort illusion. The money is real. The safety it creates is not. $10,000 is 2 months of expenses for most couples. Not a foundation, a bridge.
The couples who make it to the next level figured out what the $10,000 was actually for, before they spent it figuring that out. That decision is harder than it sounds when you're both looking at the number with completely different eyes.
Level 3. $25,000, the first real floor. $25,000. This is where the math starts working differently. At $25,000, the average couple has 4 to 6 months of living expenses covered. That's not just a number, that's optionality. The ability to say no to a job, absorb an emergency without going backward. Make a decision based on what you want instead of what you need.
Nobody tells you what $25,000 does to your relationship, not your bank account, your relationship. There was this low-grade anxiety that used to live in our conversations, the way we'd both go quiet when an unexpected bill arrived. The tension before any big purchase, the feeling that one thing going wrong could undo everything. It didn't disappear at $25,000, but it got quieter. We stopped making small decisions out of fear. That's what $25,000 bought us. Not comfort or calm. And calm inside a relationship is worth more than we knew.
The fatal flaw at level 3, couples who reach $25,000 and stop. They've found the floor and mistake it for the ceiling. The money sits in a savings account earning 0.5%, while inflation quietly erodes every dollar of it. We know those couples. We were those couples for almost a year. The couples who break out of level 3 are the ones who realize that $25,000 in savings isn't the goal. It's the launch pad. And what you do next is the decision that separates the two versions of your financial future.
Level 4, $50,000. The identity shift.
$50,000. This is where your financial identity changes, whether you notice it or not. Only 29% of American couples under 40 have $50K or more in liquid savings. If you're at this level, you are not average. You made a series of decisions that most people didn't make, and those decisions are beginning to compound.
When we crossed $50,000, something strange happened. We stopped talking about money as much, not because we had figured everything out, because we had stopped being scared. And when the fear goes away, you realize how much of your relationship had been running on it. Arguments that looked like arguments about money, about a dinner out, about a flight home for the holidays, those weren't about money, they were about fear. The fear was gone. So were the arguments.
But here's what makes level 4 secretly the most dangerous level of all. Lifestyle inflation hits hardest at $50K. Not because couples suddenly overspend, because they finally feel like they've earned the right to. The nicer apartment, the car upgrade, the vacations that cost twice as much as the ones 3 years ago. Each one feels justified. Each one is. Together, they rebuild exactly the financial pressure the $50,000 was supposed to eliminate. We call this false stability. The number is real. The security it creates can dissolve in 18 months without a single catastrophic decision. Just ordinary life, lived slightly above what you've built.
The couples who protect $50,000 and keep building are the ones who made a decision before they spent the raise. They named what the money was for before it got a chance to become something else. Level 5 is where that discipline pays off, in a way you can actually see.
Level 5, $100,000, the compound moment. This is the level where money starts doing work you didn't assign it. At 7% average annual growth, the historical average for a diversified index portfolio, $100,000 generates $7,000 in the first year. That's $583 a month, from nothing, from capital that was already there.
The day Charlie showed me that calculation, I finally understood what he'd been trying to explain for years. He put the numbers on a piece of paper, not a spreadsheet, paper, on the kitchen table. $100,000 earning $583 a month. $583 we didn't earn. $583 that existed because we had been patient. I sat with that for a long time. We weren't just saving money anymore. We were building something that would eventually save money for us. That shift from we save money to our money saves money. That's what level 5 actually is. It's not a number. It's a completely different relationship with money. The next morning, I moved $200 more into the investment account. It's not a large amount, but it felt different. It felt like I was voting for the future instead of just paying for the present.
The psychological shift at $100,000 is documented. Studies on financial well-being show that $100,000 in net savings correlates with a measurable reduction in financial anxiety, not because emergencies stop happening, but because the couple now has the capacity to absorb them without going backward. The fatal flaw here: overconfidence. Couples at level 5 start taking investment risks they were too cautious to take at level 3. Sometimes that works. Sometimes $100,000 becomes $60,000 in a bad year, and the psychological damage takes longer to recover from than the financial one.
The couples who stay disciplined at level 5 are the ones who show up at level 6. And level 6 is where the conversation about money changes permanently, not because the number is larger, but because of what it makes quiet.
Level 6, 300,000, the quiet life. At this level, money stops being the main character in your relationship. At 7% growth, $300,000 generates $21,000 a year passively. That's enough to cover a car payment, utilities, groceries, and a few dinners out without touching the principal. The money is working. You are not required to.
We've spoken with couples who are there. Every single one says the same thing. The biggest change wasn't their bank balance. It was how now they fought. Or more specifically, that they stopped. Not because everything became perfect, because the scarcity that had been living underneath most of their arguments was gone. And without the scarcity, most of the arguments had nowhere to stand. One woman told me, "We thought we fought about money. We were actually fighting about fear." Once the fear left, we had to figure out who we actually were with each other.
And here's what nobody warns you about level 6. New problems emerge at $300,000 that don't exist at lower levels. Tax optimization, estate planning. The question of what you're actually building this for. Because the survival conversation is over and the legacy conversation has begun. Couples who haven't talked about their why find that $300K doesn't answer it. It just makes the question louder. At level 7, the number gets large enough that most people stop talking about it publicly. That silence is the signal that something has fundamentally changed, not just in the account, but in how the couple shows up everywhere else.
Level 7, $500,000. The threshold of freedom.
This is the threshold where the math starts talking about retirement, whether you're ready to or not. The 4% rule, the standard withdrawal guideline used by financial planners, says you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually without depleting the principal over a 30-year period. 4% of $500K is $20,000 a year, around $1,600 a month. Not enough to retire on alone in most American cities, but enough to change what you're willing to accept at work.
The couples I know at this level describe something I want badly. They call it walking away money. Not that they walk away from everything, but that they could. The option exists. And that knowledge that you have the ability to leave a job, a city, a situation that no longer serves you, changes how you show up in all of them. It also changes how you show up with each other. When money is no longer the reason you stay somewhere, you stay because you choose to. That is a different kind of relationship. You are no longer together because you can't afford not to be.
The fatal flaw at level 7 has a name: the protection gap. The couple that saved conservatively to get here suddenly faces decisions they've never had to make. Asset allocation at scale, how to protect wealth, not just build it. Tax-efficient drawdown. Many couples arrive at $500,000 and discover their entire financial system was built for accumulation and has no instructions for what comes after.
Nothing prepares you for what level 8 actually looks like. Because at $1 million, the financial question changes completely, and so does the question you ask each other.
Level 8, $1 million, the level that changes the question. $1 million. Let's be precise about what that number actually means in 2026. The median American household income is $74,000 a year, which means a couple with $1 million invested can generate close to the median American household income, indefinitely, without either of them working a single day.
I used to think $1 million was an abstraction, a number for other people. People who started with more, or got lucky, or made different choices at moments I didn't have access to. What changed my mind wasn't a financial plan. It was a conversation. Charlie and I sat down one night and built the math from where we actually were, not where we wished we were, where we actually were. And the math said, if we kept doing what we were already doing, we'd reach $1 million. Not early retirement, not a miracle, just time and consistency applied in the right direction. It doesn't solve the hard conversations. It makes them possible. The couples who reach level 8 aren't couples who avoided conflict. They're couples who learned to have the same conversation over and over again at different levels of the journey until they got good at it. The money is the result of that, not the cause.
The question at every other level is, how do we get more? At level 8, the question changes. It becomes, what is this actually for? What do we do with time when money is no longer the answer to that question? What does a life look like when you've removed the financial constraint and you still have to decide what matters? Most couples have never had that conversation. The ones who reach level 8 and stay there are the ones who started having it at level 2.
8 levels, 8 completely different financial realities, and one thing that's true at every single one of them. The couples who move between them aren't smarter or luckier or born into the right circumstances. They're the ones who kept having the conversation about what the money was for, what level they were at, and what the next one required of them.
That conversation is the system. Everything else is just the result of it. Which level are you and your partner at right now? Drop it in the comments and tell us which level felt most real to you.
If you want to see the same format for debt, every level of debt as a couple, and what each one does to your relationship, subscribe so you don't miss it.